The Show Me Cannabis Podcast.
Hi YouTube, this is Show Me Cannabis Executive Director John Payne. A few weeks ago we traveled down to Jefferson City to visit Jeff Mizanskey, where he is imprisoned there and has been for the last 21 years. If you're not familiar with his case, Jeff Mizanskey is the non-violent cannabis offender who has a sentence of life without parole for 3 non-violent cannabis-only offenses. And we went down and we interviewed him, and that is what you're about to see. However, I just want to let you know that prisons do not really, have the best quality for recordings. They put you in a big concrete room, the sound bounces around a lot, and there were some very loud vending machines in there. So basically, the quality of the audio is not that great, but you're able to hear it. So go ahead and take a listen, and I think it's a very important interview, and you'll enjoy it a lot.
Well, before I got locked up, I was foreman 2 construction sites. Had 20 people working for me under each one. And I also had a small construction company of my own. We used to, the guys that really wasn't that experienced, and give them a place to learn. And we went around and did jobs for people that really couldn't afford a big construction company to come in, you know. Mm-hmm. The guys didn't get paid much, but they're able to put a roof on somebody that really couldn't afford it. We did stuff like that. Had raised a family, or was raising a family, and then got picked up on this marijuana. Got charged with, the judge said a life sentence, and the parole board tells me it's life without according to the statutes.
Yeah, I believe since it was you're charged under the prior and persistent drug offender because you had two priors for cannabis, and those were just for cannabis, right?
Right.
And have you ever been convicted of any sort of violent offense?
No.
Yeah. Have you ever? I mean, you've never committed any sort of violent offense ever, and so go through what sort of regular day is like here in prison. I know you're saying that you still work and contribute, but it's somewhat of the same stuff that you did on the outside, but a little bit different as well.
Yeah, well, I wake up about 4:30, 5 o'clock, drink some coffee, get ready to go to work. Usually, if you want to go to eat, it's somewhere between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, 6:30, somewhere in there if you want to go eat breakfast. Come back in, and you go to, I go to furniture factory 4 days a week. We work 10 hours a day. And that's where I get to teach guys. I'm a lead, what they call a lead man down there. I got an area doing furniture finishing. And I get to teach them how to stain, spray, repair furniture, stuff like that. Get off at 4:30. We get to go eat and go back in the house. We have to lock down for count time at that time. Now, I'm fortunate because I'm in an honor wing, so after the count time at 6 o'clock, we're let out into the wing, or sometimes we have front yard rec, which is a small yard. You can go out there and walk, or they got small exercise stuff out there. Play basketball, that's about all you can do. Or like Wednesday night, we have what they call big yard. You can go out and play handball or baseball or go to the gym, stuff like that. Do that for about 2 hours and come back in and get cleaned up, ready for bed. Starts all over again.
So you said you're in an honor wing. Is that reserved for offenders, prisoners that have a good record and are on good behavior? Is that the idea behind that?
Basically, you have to fit their criteria. You got to be right up free for so long. I forget all the criteria behind it, but you got to earn it.
Yeah.
Okay. Since I've been in for 20 years now, I've had 2 minor write-ups, and that was when I first got locked up, and back I think in '96. It's the last 2 minor write-ups I've had.
That is a mighty long time. Mm-hmm. In 1996, I was 13 years old, so that's been a little while. So if you were free, what would you do? What would be, what would you hope your life would be like?
Well, I'd like to give it to family, first of all. My parents passed away. I'd like to go see their graves, get some closure there. But I'd really like to find some way that I could talk to people and help people, especially these kids that are on hard drugs. I mean, that's really killing our society out there. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm against kids doing any kind of drugs, even marijuana. But to be right honest with you, if I could talk a kid off of heroin to smoke a joint, I'd do it in a heartbeat. And I'd like to be able to do something like that. Of course, help the movement as far as getting marijuana legalized, because nobody deserves to be in here for marijuana.
Yeah.
Don't make no sense.
That actually kind of touches on the next point I was going to bring up. So that now that 2 states have legalized cannabis, and D.C. and 2 more states are going to vote on it in November, do you think the criminal justice system should go back and reconsider cases like yours and other people who are serving long sentences for nonviolent cannabis offenses? It
sure be nice. I think they should. I think they're finding out that marijuana is not the so-called bad, evil drug that it was portrayed to be when it got put off to be illegal. There's a lot of books out there if people would sit down and read. You can find out it's really helpful. I mean, even back when our country was born, farmers had to grow marijuana.
Yeah, grow hemp.
Right, and which is basically the same thing, it's just a weaker grade. I mean, the Egyptians used it. All through history has been used. Why all of a sudden in our time it's illegal? It don't make sense. Besides that, all the medical. I mean, I just seen a piece on the TV where it said that the states that legalized it for medical, and of course the ones that can smoke it leisurely, their suicide rate, or not suicide, but their overdose rate has been down like 25%. Mm-hmm. Come on, people.
Yeah, it looks like they're substituting they're substituting cannabis for the more powerful painkillers like Vicodin and OxyContin, which are, people can overdose on quite easily.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
And marijuana is doing the job, so they don't have to go to those heavier drugs.
Yeah.
So
now, like I said earlier, you were sentenced under the prior and persistent drug offender statute, and this year the Missouri legislature voted to remove that from the criminal code. Now that doesn't go into effect until 2017, but nonetheless they've done that. And sort of along the same lines of the last question, do you think Governor Nixon should take that into consideration, that now the state legislature has said that this is not a good policy, so maybe they should look at that retroactively as well?
That would really be good, because there's guys in here who really deserve to be out, not just me, but I'm sure there's others. And they're realizing the faults of that, the way it was, the statute was wrote.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, the gentleman that originally put that in there said it wasn't meant to be used the way it's done. So, like everything else, they take it and they take it to the extreme and use it the way it's not meant to be, the way it was wrote. But, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. But it would be good, and I don't see why he wouldn't consider that. The simple reason is, I guess the legislation decided it wasn't right. So why wouldn't he go along with that?
If you could say anything to Governor Nixon personally, what would you say?
Cannabis is not as bad as what you think. People don't deserve to be locked up for marijuana. I think if you give me a chance to get out of here, I could help people get off of some of these hard drugs, which is really killing our kids. And I would really like to do that. I mean, 20 years, long enough for marijuana. I'm not saying I'm guilty, I'm not saying I'm innocent. It's never been about that. It's always been about, is the time right for the crime? In my case, I don't believe it has been.
So if you could, what would you do to change the laws as they're currently written?
I'd like to see marijuana legalized. I mean, it would help our country. Think of the taxes that could be made off of it. They're always crying and screaming about not having enough money for our schools, for our roads, our infrastructure. My God, even if they had $100 on an ounce, if they gave the grower $20, taxes could be done. The state could get, I mean, the federal government could get $50, that's 70, that still leaves 30. The state could get 10, the city could get 10, and the county could get 10. That's out of $100. It would help everybody all the way up and down the line, and also how much money would we save keeping guys like me in prison, from having to keep guys like me in prison, let alone the court system and all the hours that are wasted on finding marijuana dealers or people that smoke marijuana, either one, where they could be fighting these hard drugs. That's what's hurting us.
Yeah, they make more arrests for marijuana in most years than they do all of their drugs combined, about 20,000 a year, which is it's a pretty staggering number. I mean, you're from Sedalia originally. Right. That's about the population of Sedalia that they're arresting every year for cannabis.
That's a lot of money that's wasted.
Oh, yeah. That is definitely a lot of money that's wasted. It's about, I think the estimates are about $150 million a year just on enforcement costs, so that's pretty substantial.
On marijuana alone, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. That's staggering.
So how can people help you and others who are serving long sentences for nonviolent offenses?
Register to vote. It's your country. If you don't vote, you ain't got no say-so. One vote matters. When it does come up, register to pass it or register not to. I mean, or vote not to. You vote your mind. But I think people out there really looked at it and really read up on it, they vote for it because it just makes sense. I mean, if nothing else, do it for the kids. They need the money for the schools because they're not going to stop it. Too many people out there smoking it. A lot of them ain't admitting it. They're in the closet, so-called, but they're smoking it. Believe that. I know. I hear of it all the time.
Yeah, it's there's pretty much nowhere in the country that you can't get it somewhere. So, So since you've been locked up, what are the things that you have missed out on the most?
My family. My son ended up quitting high school because I wasn't out there. My grandkids, which I just found out last week. You know, Chris, he's got a grandson now. I just found that out last week. I'm also supposed to be a great-grandpa. That's coming up sometime this year. My parents passing away. Out there working. I enjoy working. I always did. Fortunately, I got a job in here. It ain't as much as I'd like to do, but it's one of the benefits is I got to meet quite a few people, not just like you, but even in here, because I got to realize how some people think. I've talked to a lot of them, and a lot of them are in here because of drugs. They may have committed a murder or something like that, but they were on hard drugs. I've never heard of anybody hurting anybody over marijuana. But it gives me something to do if and when I get out.
Yeah.
You know.
It's kind of ironic that sort of the point of, one of the missions of the prison is to rehabilitate people or get them ready to go back and be a productive member of society, but you already were a productive member of society when you were arrested.
Yeah, I just started a new job after I got arrested, and I bonded out for a while. I just started a job working for a company that was doing reclaimed pits for MFA. We were doing all the chemicals and stuff, you know, they could put it on the ground. I just started that right before I got in here, so that all went down the drain.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I've got no illusions. If I get out, it's going to be hard. I'm 61 years old. 20 years, I haven't been able to save. What little bit I did have saved is gone. So, but as long as I get a place to sleep, a place to eat, and if I can get some kids or people to listen, I'll have something to do. If nothing else, I'll flip hamburgers, you know, so. But I got a lot of experience in construction and heavy equipment operation and stuff like that, so I'll find something.
So do you have, you know, despite your sentence, do you have hope that you will be freed eventually?
Yes, because of people like you.
Thank you.
That you do a lot.
I wish I could do more, honestly, because it's a tragedy that there are people that are nonviolent that are locked up for years and years and possibly their whole life. But
well, you and Show Me Cannabis, they give us hope.
I appreciate that. So, you know, for years, before we came along and before there was a whole lot, before this issue was really being talked about, did you wonder if there would ever come a day that it would be on the horizon?
I figured sooner or later it'd be legalized because of what it is. I mean, I know a lot of times I used it out there because I had aches and pains, and it helped them. And I knew sooner or later people would realize it. I don't know if it's going to be in my lifetime or not, but sooner or later it's going to happen. Why fight the inevitable, you know? Yeah. But I didn't have a whole lot of hope. I kept fighting things in court. But as you know, our court system, you know, it used to be that you're innocent until proven guilty. It ain't like that anymore. People can dream all they want, but it's not. You're guilty until you prove you're innocent. That's the way it is anymore, unfortunately. I know a lot of guys in here that just, I've read their cases, and from what I can see, I can't believe it. I don't know a whole lot about law. I know I've filed quite a few things in the court system, and if you don't have a lawyer, they're really not even going to look at it.
Yeah, and it's
no matter how good it is.
Courts also don't like to go back and review something that they consider to be final and settled because they think, well, we've already looked at this and that's the ruling that's been made, and not going to revisit it a lot of the time.
Exactly, especially if you don't have a lawyer.
Yeah.
I understand, and I've seen this on TV where a judge actually said they had two piles. This pile's without lawyers, this pile's with lawyers. Usually this just gets pushed aside and they look through these.
I can believe that.
I've seen that on TV. So, and this is from a guy that used to be a judge. He is now working as a lawyer. If I'm not mistaken, he's out of Illinois. I'm not positive. But, so, it's a system, and what's happened to me can happen to anybody. I mean, if they want you, they're going to get you. And that's whether you're guilty or not.
Yeah. So that's pretty much most of the questions I had. Do you have anything else you'd like to add while we're here?
Well, I'd sure like to see people out there voting and get this passed. I understand I have a whole lot of people out there helping me, and I appreciate it. Of course, Dan Beats, you, Show Me Cannabis, Amber, you've done a lot.
It's our pleasure to do it. It's the right thing to do. So,
my main concern is that I forgot about it. Because yeah, it's in the news now, but how long is that going to be? And how long have people got their attention span? Is our governor holding off, waiting, hoping people forget? That's what's on my mind. Fortunately, there's been quite a few reporters, and Show Me Cannabis that's keeping it alive, you know, that's giving a little shout here and there, keeping it in people's minds. But if none of that comes through, I understand y'all are trying to put a bill in for 2016. That's my last hope.
Yeah, and that's certainly our intention to let any nonviolent cannabis-only offenders to be freed with that, because that's, we just look at what's happened in Colorado and Washington, and we approve of those things, but it's they did that and they didn't free any of the people that were locked up on what they had just made legal. Mm-hmm. And to us, that doesn't seem right. It seems like if you're going to make it legal, then you should go back and look at the cases of people that have been convicted under those old laws that were never just to begin with.
Well, I agree they weren't just, but in a sense, most of us probably did break the law that was written at that time. So I can see having a little punishment on it, but they kind of went to the extreme on marijuana.
Yeah. And especially in your case.
Yeah, especially in my case. But I'm not the only one. I think I read there's 25 other people over the country.
Mm-hmm. I think it might be a little bit more than that, but it's a fair number of people that have life sentences for marijuana.
Right.
Most of them were for larger amounts than yours, but it's still.
Well, I know they had a drug cartel guy in that was caught with thousands of pounds, and he did so much time. He's supposed to have a life without, and he's out.
Yeah.
I mean, how's that happen? When I first got locked up, the guy that put me in the cell with, this was at Fulton, he had just got caught with 600 pounds. Right? And he got 6 years. And it was his third offense. He was driving all the way from Mexico. What's this country coming to? I thought law was supposed to be even. They're going to make a law so you can't do this. Okay, well, it's a 10-year sentence. Everybody should get 10 years. Not this guy 1, not this guy 20.
Yeah, it seems like a big range there from 6 to life without parole.
Yeah. I ain't figured it out. I try to go to the law library and read up on things and learn. Of course, they got computers in there now. They made it real hard. I'm not computer savvy. Most of us ain't in here. They took all the books away and put computers in. I don't know if that was to make it harder on us or try to force us to learn how to use computers. But what I can read, it's all set up against us anyways. It seems like I say, the court system. If you ain't got a lawyer, how many people in here can afford a lawyer? Or especially the way the financial situation is out on the street with your families. You can't expect them to come up with money and take it away from the families. I don't expect that. I try not to ask my family for anything. That's another reason why I work. I try to support myself.
It's certainly a difficult system if you don't have the financial resources to hire somebody, and it definitely makes it tough.
On the other hand, if you had the money to start with, you probably wouldn't be in here.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that have got caught more times and with more stuff than what I ever seen in my life. I've never seen a day.
Well, like you were saying about the guy that was the head of the drug cartel. Drug cartels have a lot of money, so they can afford to hire very good lawyers and get their guys out if they need to. So.
And see, on us, it's so hard because the first 10 years, so you try to learn what you can do with the law. The next 5 years or so, then you think you know what you're doing with it. Then after that, you know a little more about it, and then they tell you, well, it's too late. You can't claim any of that because your lawyer didn't claim it. Your public defender didn't use that. Well, how fair is that? It's right there in front of their nose, and they don't use it. And then we suffer because you can't bring that up because they didn't bring it up.
So do you feel like you got inadequate representation at your trial?
My trial at the 2915 hearing said, the lawyer said, His defense was no defense at all. He got on the stand in the 2915 hearing and said that because the state had to prove their case and they didn't have it. But yet I'm still in here. So I can't say I did, I can't say I didn't. Like I say, truly, they were supposed to prove their case. I'm in here. Unfortunately, you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent anymore. It ain't like it used to be, innocent until they prove you guilty. If you're charged with something, 90% of the people are going to think you're guilty of it, whether you are or not.
That's probably true. It's an unfortunate fact, but yeah, it's there's very little presumption of innocence once you actually get into a courtroom.
Right. So, I don't know how they can change it back the way it used to be, or it should be. Unfortunately, I doubt whether they ever do, but if you're not a lawyer, you ain't got no money, you're going to be stuck in a place like this, like me, because it can happen to anybody. If you get a prosecutor out there or somebody that wants you put away to make your points, or whatever the reason, it's going to happen. So, I don't know. In my case, I'd never dreamed. I didn't even know you could get a life sentence for marijuana, let alone life without. Especially since I know people that's been caught 10 and 20 times in the same county that I've been caught.
It doesn't seem to be evenly applied. It often depends on what the prosecutor wants to do and what the judge will allow, and but it's not something that's uniformly applied a lot of the time.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But they got the law so twisted up, and it's if you're not a lawyer, you can read a case and to you it says this thing, and then they send back and say, oh no, it means this, and I guess they can read it any way they want to read it, and there's nothing we can do about it, nothing I can do about it. So, fortunately, we have some good lawyers out there that are actually willing to fight for some guys and willing to do what they're supposed to do. And I think most of them intentionally do. But sometimes I wonder how many deals are made before the court ever went to, before the lawyers ever got to court with the prosecutors. I don't know that to be true, but it makes a person wonder.
I think it's like 95% of cases are now plea bargained out as opposed to taken to trial. So I mean, in most cases, there's never a trial. There's just prosecutor meets with the defense attorney, hammers out a deal, and that's what the person takes. So that's the right to trial by jury is actually sort of often the thing of the past, because if you don't take the plea bargain, then they're going to hit you with the harsh sentence, which I think is sort of what happened in your case.
Well, there's quite a few reasons, and one of these days those reasons will come out that I didn't take a plea bargain. They wanted me to take 30 years to start with.
It's an awful long time.
Considering I was told even by when I first come in that I only had a life sentence. I figured the life sentence is only 30 years. What am I gaining?
Yeah.
Besides that, I'm truly not guilty of what I'm actually charged with. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of nothing, but I'm not guilty of that. So with my right to take it to trial, unfortunately, they hammer you if you do.
Yeah.
And I think that's wrong.
Thanks for joining us this week. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Jeff Mizanskey, and we will see you next week. Thanks a lot.
Show Me Cannabis, fighting to reform Missouri cannabis laws. Find us at show-mecannabis.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Together, we can reform Missouri cannabis law.